You can bring your palms together in front of your heart. Closing the eyes, relaxing your shoulders, your jaw, your face, and your mind. Just take a bow to yourself, bowing your forehead, bowing your chin. Take 3 deep breaths. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Purvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityomukshiyamamrita. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namah. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namah. Om Aim Saraswatye Namah. Om Aim Saraswatye Namah. Om Shri Gurave Namah. Om Shri Gurave Namah. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Asatoma Satyamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om. Topic today is temple. Temple, T period, E period, M period, P period, L period, E temple. Acronym. And you say, well, that's great, but tell me why I'm really here. Not here because of the clever acronym of temple. I'm here for what it really means, right? And all of us, we say, why are you here? Well, I can answer that question for you right now. Start off the bat. Why did I come to Satsang? Maybe you already know the answer to that question. All of us here feel, in one sense, completely separate from everything out there, everything in the world. In one sense, we feel different from all of the happenings outside of us. Boundary of our skin, my mind and your mind, me and all that. So all of us feel this, and yet at the same time we feel at one with this. We feel completely enfolded in this, completely in harmony. That we proceeded from this, that we are sustained from this, And we will go back to this. All of us feel this intuitively as well. That's why we're here at Satsang. What is it all about? Why? Who am I? Right? The central questions of all spiritual traditions. Who am I? What is my goal? And when we look for the answers, we'll find those two answers. We'll find you are separate from the world. You transcend the world. You are not of the world, right? Live in the world, don't be of the world. You're a spiritual being having a human existence, right? The other people, the other ways is saying, nope, it's all one. There is no, they're all the illusions of separateness. They're not real. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya is the word, is the phrase in Sanskrit. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya means God alone is real. The world is false. It's the yoga scriptures for you. They don't beat around the bush. The God is alone real. The world is false. There's a looking at this world as I am different from it, and there's also looking at the world that the world doesn't exist. What world? And you find both of those perspectives in the yoga scriptures. And those and a myriad, infinite more ways of describing who you are. Because once you understand who you are on a deeper level, all this outside world makes perfect sense. How it is, how transient it is, how momentary it is, ever-changing. So are we to just come here lifetime after lifetime and try to keep up with the changes? And that's called suffering. To try to keep up with those changes and to get a little bit of squeeze some happiness out of, we go through a lot of suffering, we go through a lot of misery for just a little bit of enjoyment. If we look deeper at life. So that's why the yoga calls it suffering. It's because you go not knowing who you are, why you're here, and what is your goal. So all of the gift of human life is thrown away. So won't go into that, because that causes itself with the illusion and the confusion and the misidentification of oneself, and therefore what one's purpose is. Then all the suffering comes for oneself and others and the planet. So we won't go there. We go where, okay, what does it mean when the scripture says God alone is real, the world is false? What does it mean by the world being false? That's really a deeper question. Why is the world false? What do they mean? So, to summarize all of yoga, to summarize all the yoga scriptures, it's that there is one reality. That reality is called Brahman. Brahman is the absolute reality, the substratum of the entire universe. The only real thing that doesn't borrow its existence from anything else. That's why it's called one alone without a second. So there's that, capital T, that. You always see it referred to as Tattvamasi, that. Tat means that. Tattvamasi means that thou art. You are that Brahman. That's what all the yoga scriptures are, all of them. Every single one is telling you the same thing. You are Brahman. You are the absolute reality. And all else borrows existence from this Brahman. Our bodies, our minds, this world and universe appear in this Brahman, and another word for this Brahman is called Sat Chit Ananda, which it helps practitioners of yoga understand what this Brahman is signifying, implying. Sat, existence, eternally. Never does it become born, so therefore it does not die. Chit, consciousness, awareness. These are the characteristics of Brahman, if you will. And Ananda, bliss. So this is our real nature. Absolute bliss, absolute awareness, absolute existence. Absolute existence, what does that mean? No sword can really pierce you. You, your real you. Brahman, Atman, the real self, the highest self. This you, the absolute you, the real I, cannot be pierced by any sword. It cannot be wet by any water. It cannot be dried by any wind, nor can it be burnt by any fire. That's from the Bhagavad Gita. Brahman is changeless, unchanging. So, all of this changing appears in this one Brahman, one absolute Sat Chit Ananda. This is, we hold on to those changing realities called the body. Does the body undergo changes? How about the mind? So all this we hold on to, and we call it me, and we hold tight. Not going to let go of that. Oh, ego. So this I-ness that we've been told from when we were little, if someone was teaching you this from the start, it'd be completely different. But we had to also unlearn a lot of things when we come to the spiritual practice. More so about unlearning what you've learned than about learning. It's learning how to unlearn. How about that? It's no ordinary task. So you gotta focus, you gotta have concentration, you gotta have a strong mind. Because otherwise you're shaken easily. So we hold on to these changing, temporary, momentary, transient, what we would call realities, but yoga wouldn't even call it a reality. It's an apparent reality. It's a practical reality. But where is it appearing? In the absolute awareness, consciousness, bliss, Sat Chit Ananda. Who are you? Who are you? That's the answer. I am Brahman. What is Brahman? Brahman is the universal reality. What is the universal reality? The universal reality is existence, consciousness, bliss. That is who you are. And you say, is it this existence? Is it this consciousness? Is it this happiness that I feel, bliss that I feel? No. It's the source of all of that. The very source that we get our existence from, right? The whole universe gets its existence from this existence. We exist, things exist, objects exist. We're talking about existence itself. That is Brahman. One of the three aspects. Existence itself. Not the existence of something or someone, but existence itself. Not consciousness of anything or any object. Not knowledge or not awareness of my mind, my body. No, awareness itself. Not attached. Different. Awareness and what awareness is aware of, different. Bliss, Ananda. Not the satisfaction we get from enjoying objects or the sensual pleasures that the body enjoys, that the mind gets, oh, I like this or I don't like this. I want more of what I like, I want less of what I don't like. It's not the enjoyment from objects. It's the very ground, very source of all enjoyment, the very source of all happiness, the very source of all satisfaction. Anything you've ever loved, whether it's enjoyed and loved having a small cookie once a day, or your pet, or your son or daughter, parent, whatever, anything we've ever loved, the source of that love is God, is Brahman, is Sat Chit Ananda. Brahman, you are. In the absolute understanding, the profound understanding, you are. And all of this appears in you. Do you say, I am in the universe? Now we're just cutting right to the chase here. If I just say, am I in the universe? Or is the universe in me? And it seems like here I am, I'm in space, and I'm in the universe. But where is the universe appearing? In your consciousness. In your consciousness. Follow that consciousness. Follow it through the waking state, follow it through the dreaming state, follow it through the deep sleeping state, and you'll arrive at God realization, self-realization. Instantaneously. Without effort. Won't be a big drama about it. When you're enlightened, your experience won't be, oh, this enlightenment, it's so wonderful. Your experience will be, I was always enlightened. There's nothing gained from it. Yoga and the scriptures, all the scriptures, they tell you, they say, what you get when you're enlightened, you've already got. Experience is not something that's, quote, you don't get something new. You don't attain something, even though we say attain enlightenment, right? Attain salvation, attain liberation. But when you're attaining this salvation, this liberation, this moksha, this freedom, you're getting what you've already got. And you just realize that everything else you thought before was a superimposition on the one reality. You put many realities on top of that one reality. No? My God. How much duality do we live in? So much. There's a myriad, there's infinite amount of duality that we live in. And yet, do we realize that all of this, where's the source of it? The one source, the one reality of it, is existence, consciousness, bliss. You, Brahman. So, if you get this now, you say, okay, Sudarshan, I understand. And what you say sounds true. But how do I attain this God? My true self? We want that experience. How do I see this whole world and this body, this mind, in a way that will give me what I want, which is why you're here, liberation. All of us are here for one reason. It's because the things that you've got already in life were not enough. So there is something more to get that you know is here. It's nowhere else to be found but here, right here. And it's just a matter of going there, finding out about it. So that's why we come to Satsang. So number one, I will go off on the temple. All that was introduction. So, temple. What does T stand for? T stands for Titiksha. I'll just run through them real quick and then we'll go. T stands for Titiksha, means endurance. E stands for Evam. Evam means by doing so, or by knowing this. M, Manana. Manana means reflection. P stands for Panchakosha. Panchakosha means 5 sheaths, 5 layers. L, Lila, play. or playfulness. And the last E, Eka. Eka, one. Titiksha, endurance. Evam, by doing so. Manana, reflection. Panchakosha, 5 sheaths. Lila, play. Eka, one. We live our lives according to this acronym. Everything will be existence, consciousness, bliss. Right away? Not right away. It takes persistent effort. It takes self-effort. It takes repeated effort. It's called abhyasa. Practice. Repeated coming to satsang, even though this whole satsang will give you from start to finish, from eyes closed to eyes open, you still have to come back to satsang. Because we must see it in our lives. We must experience it in our lives. If we're not experiencing it, we must keep revealing who we are. What is Brahman? What is the Atman? We don't have to think, oh, I'm so at the same level. I have been attending satsang for now 1 or 2 years, and I'm still learning about Atman and Brahman in satsang. This again, Atman Brahman comes up. Haven't we covered that already? Yes, there's more and more to reveal about Atman and Brahman. So, Titiksha. In order for you to have what you want, which is the experience of your real self, not any illusion or superimposition of yourself, but to experience your essential, your essential self. It will take endurance. Titiksha, word in Sanskrit, titiksha, means patience. Means when you start off on the spiritual path and things don't go your way right away, do you give it up? Persist. Ashram wasn't how I thought it would be. Leave the ashram. Guru didn't dress or look or speak as I thought he would. Leave the guru. There's this steadiness that is required to move through the shocks that practical daily life, practical realities will throw at you. There has to be that steadiness, that firmness, endurance, and patience. To keep moving on the spiritual path and not give it up. To give away the distractions. All the things that we give our attention to, and that we know we would rather give our attention onto something more perhaps meaningful to us, something more deeper, resonates deeper with us spiritually. But yet, what do we spend our time on? And so, how strong is the titiksha? How strong is the patience? How strong is the endurance that you're willing to do the repeated effort required daily to get what you want? Because many people start the project and give it up after the challenges come. Start a project, run into an obstacle, start a new project. Or, how about this? Get some success in yoga. And that's enough. Right? People get success in their project and they stop. Say, okay. A little bit of success will come. Say you can touch your toes, or you can twist and look around your shoulder, or you can bend your back and lift your chest off the, whatever you do, that's kind of progress that we gauge, right? How about the mental progress? How about how we talk to ourselves? How about how much serenity we can enjoy in our minds on a daily basis? How much peace, how much wisdom can we gain from the adversity that we go through, the challenges that we face? So if we don't have this titiksha, this patience and this endurance, then a little bit of success that we gain, we move on to the next. You say, okay, I did that, now let me try something else. Or you've become satisfied. And this yoga discipline will keep revealing more and more as you go deeper and deeper in. As you hold yourself to the ideal. That's what this Titiksha will help you do more easily. Bring in Titiksha into your sadhana. Bring in Titiksha in your practice. Bring in Titiksha in your daily life. Which projects am I starting? What aspects of sadhana have I said that I would like to involve in my spiritual movement and that yet have not? That's the first level. You have to have the Titiksha in order to start moving. Otherwise it's start, stop, start, stop. So that's endurance, Titiksha. Temple. How do I see this body and mind as a temple, and this world as a temple? And therefore all experiences, actions, and life becomes worship. Number one, involve Titiksha. Number two, Evam. Evam is a word that shows up very frequently in yoga scriptures. And that's why I've chosen this. There's not many words, so many words that are so common to involved in this acronym that start with E. But Evam, showing up in so many scriptures, that means by knowing this, by doing this, seeing that. So what's happening in the scripture is that it will mention a fact, a profound fact about you or about the world and you, and then it will say, and by knowing this, etc., 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 or by doing this, etc., etc., etc. Evam. Evam signifies what you already know to do. Who should I listen to? What should I do? The scripture tells you right then. Early the first line of the scripture was, do this, and by doing this, by knowing so, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. And Evam, by knowing this, one is free from all illusion, pairs of opposites, duality, etc. So it mentions the fact, the reality, and then by a practice according to this reality, or by practice according to what has been expounded in the earlier verses of the scripture, or this very verse, by doing so, then the practitioner experiences the real self, the bliss of their real self, etc., etc. By control of the breath through the left and right nostrils, the in and outflow of the breath, the yogi purifies the nadi. So Evam is in this explanation in the scripture. Evam comes. And what Evam is pointing to here in this acronym is by getting the knowledge, by going to the scripture to get the knowledge. There's all kinds of experts these days to tell you what to do and what not to do. And today they'll tell you what to do this, And then tomorrow another expert will say, do the opposite of that. Who do I listen to? Evam. Do what the scripture tells you to do. Do what the authoritative text and the authoritative master or teacher tells you to do. The one who has personal direct experience. And not only that, the scriptures have been tried and tested and proven throughout the ages. And which ones? Not anybody, but enlightened masters have given us these scriptures as their examples. Their lives are the living examples of those scriptures. So the attest is in your own experience. You're not looking for this validation in anywhere else outside of you. By doing so, not by reading so, by understanding. By practice of Drigdrishya Viveka, by practice of understanding the difference between what is the seer and what is the seen. By discriminative knowledge of what is the seer, who is the seer, and what or who is the seen, one transcends the world of illusion. One enters into non-duality. Advaita. Advaita. Dvaita two. Advaita not two. By understanding who. So, Evam, by moving in this understanding, by doing this practice of Dhritarishya Viveka, by discriminative knowledge, by repeated effort, Evam shows up. M. Manana. Manana literally means reflection. Reflecting on who or what. Reflecting on what you've read, what you've understood, what you've heard in Satsang, what the teacher taught you, what you understood from the scripture. You yourself read this, or you yourself understand. First level in Satsang, first practice of Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is the yoga of wisdom, the yoga of knowledge. What's the first practice in the yoga of knowledge? To hear the knowledge, to get this knowledge. And how do you get it? Traditionally, ancient times through now, ancient way, modern day, is by listening to this exposition of who you are. So you listen first. You listen, but you listen from a deeper level. That's number one, called Shravana. Reflection is number two. Reflection is Manana. Shravana, listening deeply. Manana, reflection. After you've heard the Satsang, after you've read the scripture, then you go and think and you reflect. And this reflection, this inquiry, is called Manana. Reflection. You may hear it translated as inquiry as well. You're inquiring into the nature of such and such. Inquiring into the nature. Reflecting. Chewing. Grasping. Understanding. Right? It's going to sound true, but that's not enough for something to sound true. You have to get it. You have to understand it. So first level, you can tell someone what the satsang was about. Second level, you've really got it and you can teach them what it was about. And third level is realization, nididhyasana, or meditation. Meditation. Meditation means you see it as a fact. There's no more needed for manana. You've heard it, maybe once, maybe many times. You've reflected on it, grasped it, chewed on it many times, and now you see it as a fact, just as you are here experiencing this. Who is the experiencer? You would say, I am. I am experiencing it. Okay. How are you experiencing this? With my body, with my mind, through the world. Okay. So you have this body, and you have this mind, and you also have cell phones and cars and books. And you don't call cell phones, cars, and books you, but you call your body and your mind you. Every day we call this thing and this body mind me. And this is something I have. And so I experience my body. Does anybody not experience their body? Okay, so if you're experiencing your body, the experiencer and that which you're experiencing are unique, different, separate. Manana. 2. Nididhyasana. Realization. Meditation. This is the seeing that starts to open our sphere of consciousness by coming to satsang. You'll feel this in your daily life, that the mind opens, the sphere of consciousness begins to open. And the profound truths that are expounded in satsang no longer become things that are new and foreign to you, but these start to become revealed from within you as the truth of you. M. Manana. P. What to reflect on, what to chew on. This is where P comes in, and that's Panchakosha, and that means 5 layers or 5 sheaths. Sheath is something you keep a sword in. So you have 5 of those sheaths, and finally you take 5 out, 5 sheaths, and then the sword comes out. The sword is the reality. The sword is Brahman. The sword is who you are. So what are the 5 sheaths? Anna Maya Kosha. Anna means food. Maya means illusion or creative potency. Kosha, sheath, covering. The food covering, aka the body. Literally made out of food, no? You eat the apple earlier, you eat the tomato earlier, where is it? It's you. It's this Annamaya Kosha. It's your layer. That's the layer, but this is, remember, not you. Not the real you. The real you is the sword. The real you is the Brahman. And these are the coverings on top of Brahman. Coverings on top of Atman. Coverings, those changing coverings that we hold on to as we hold on to as us. This is the layers of it. First one is the outer layer, physical layer, food sheath. Second one is pranamaya kosha. Pranamaya kosha means your energies. The energies that are responsible for digestion and heat of the body, cooling of the body, wakefulness of the body, sleepiness of the body. These are the pranas. These are the energies. The vital movements. Vital energies. So that's that second layer. It's just more subtle beyond the body, just more subtle within the body. After this layer, even deeper, is the manomaya kosha. Manomaya kosha, the mind sheath. Mano, mind, maya, illusion, layer, covering, kosha. So manomaya kosha, beyond or just more subtle than the energy, the pranamaya kosha. Breath starts physically. When you inhale, your diaphragm triggers your lungs to expand. And then the body gets energy from that physical layer, pranamaya kosha. And then because you breathe in a correct way, the mind relaxes, manomaya kosha. So now we're at the mind level, mind sheath. Sensory organs, information through the 5 senses, the cognition, and then there's an understanding of the cognition. There's an understanding that you're using right now. This is the next level, vijnanamaya kosha. The level of mind that is used to understand what is being said. What you're hearing, it goes into your manomaya kosha, through your sense organs, through your ears. That's the information. Now you take that information and you chew on it, you do manana, reflect on it. This is what you're using, vijnanamaya kosha, the intellect sheath. And you say, come on, like more? Yes, one more sheath is there. And there's the bliss sheath. And that is the anandamaya kosha, bliss sheath. Anandamaya kosha, bliss. I thought that you said my essential nature was an existence consciousness bliss. Now you're telling me it's a sheath, it's a false layer covering my real self? What is the difference between the blisses? Yes, so this is the bliss that we get from objects. This is the happiness that we get from temporary satisfaction. Things that come and go, things that borrow their existence, they give us this sheath, this covering of bliss that is all too vulnerable. So, that's the bliss that we also enjoy when we're in deep sleep. We enjoy the bliss, but it's not the kind of bliss that we'd like to enjoy. It's not the bliss that we normally associate with the bliss word, but it's a bliss of ignorance. It's a bliss of darkness. It's a bliss of ignorance. It's the bliss of absence. So you say, wow, okay, then there's one level there. That which is illumining all the sheaths is who you are, is Brahman, the absolute, the highest self, the real I. Is that I that has always been shining there beyond those sheaths and will always continue shining. Illumining the enjoyment that comes from objects, that comes from pleasures, that comes from experiences, the enjoyment that comes and goes. There's an I that's aware of that, the I that's conscious of that, the I that watches that enjoyment. There's the I that then I can understand something and I cannot understand something. I have the ability to get it and I cannot get it. I can remember and I cannot remember. That is the same I that is aware of your intellectual level, intellectual sheath, vijnanamaya. Going down, outside now, coming into the mind. You're aware of your mind. You're like, yes, unfortunately. Yes. Aware of the mind. Mind is being illumined. How? Or with what? With consciousness. From where is this consciousness coming from? The absolute consciousness. The mind borrows its energy, its consciousness. It's reflected. Now we're at the level of reflected consciousness. And yoga uses the term reflected consciousness. It means the borrowed consciousness that the mind has in it. Reflects, illumines. The contents of the mind are there, known to who? Known to you. And the energies, you feel wakeful, you feel tired, you feel hungry, you feel satiated. These are energies they're aware of in the body, and also your physical body you are aware of. Panchakosha, 5 sheaths. This is one of the prakriyas in yoga, Vedanta, profound level, advanced level, highest level of yogic movement is to see. What do I see? I see the body, I see the mind, I see the pranas, I see the intellect, I see the bliss sheath, the Anandamaya kosha. And I also see that I am somehow separate from them. That I am the experiencer of that bliss, I am the experiencer of that intellect or that understanding, I am the experiencer of the mind churning and working and processing information. I'm an experiencer of my energies in the body, and I'm an experiencer of the body itself, physical body. So remember, you experience the cell phone in your consciousness. You also experience the body in your consciousness. And from the outside world, the buildings, the trees, the bushes, the birds, the donkeys, the monkeys, you experience all that outside of you, then you start to move inside. Say, okay, from my pocket comes a cell phone. No, then that's still outside. Then you go into the body. I experience the body, I experience the mind, I experience the energies, I experience the intellect, I experience bliss. I am different from what I experience. I am separate from what I experience. You're experiencing a thought right now? Not experiencing a thought right now. You are there, the consciousness is there, always, whether the thought is there or not. Panchakosha, 5 sheaths. That's what we... L. Lila. Play. That's what we play with. We play with those 5 sheaths. And we have to play with them in a very artistic and a very skillful way in order to get the right music arising out of this instrument, or in order to have this temple operate as it's meant to, as a place of worship. Because all of these truths, I'll remind you, you are carrying right now inside of you. Buddha said he was no special person. So I have the same potential to awaken from ignorance as anybody else. Lila. Okay, do you have to come to satsang and sit still, don't move, don't make a peep? No. There are certain times for that discipline. There are certain places for that discipline. There are austerities, practices you do to strengthen your body, strengthen your mind, to give you that titiksha, both physically and mentally. There's also a time for spontaneity and Lila. How do I use this temple now? I understand, okay, I get it. I've chewed enough, I've reflected enough, I've reasoned with this with my friends and my spiritual community enough to where I get it. Now, I get it and I see it as a fact. So now what? How do I use this? You play with it. You have to play with it. How does a musician play his or her instrument? You got to tune it properly. Tuning the body, tuning the mind, tuning the energies, tuning the intellect. And then the divine music starts to arise. So you tune too tight, strings break. Tune too loose, no music. Tune it just right, harmony. And so this is where yamas and niyamas come in. Is that the yamas are outer, tuning your life so that there's no discord in your life outside. And the niyamas are inner observances, tuning yourself inwardly so that they're not having any discord within oneself. Musician tuning the instrument perfectly. This instrument, this temple, we have to use this in according to the way that it was meant to be used. Otherwise, the good music, the music that's supposed to arise will not arise. It's a fact, it's guaranteed, and we've all experienced it with dis-ease, with dissatisfaction. I don't have to go into it. We get dissatisfaction, we get diseased when this is not in the right shape. When this, I say this, I mean body-mind. Body-mind not in the right shape, discord arises, disharmony arises. Within the body-mind and outside of the body-mind. So there's the niyamas and the yamas. Niyamas, making sure that you create the proper inner environment. What are some of the niyamas? Tapas, austerity, and, well, let's just the last three. Tapas, swadhyaya, and ishvara pranidhana. Those are the last three of the niyamas. Tapas, austerities. Austerities make the physical body strong and the mind sharp. Swadhyaya, study of the self. Study of self comes through how? Through reading the scripture and through repetition of divine name, through all kinds of ways as you study one's self according to the ways that give you direct knowledge of the self. Revelation of the self. So it's an interesting thing because what you say, okay, you're telling me to go study, alright, so I'll be studying. What am I studying? Myself. It comes back to always coming back to your experience of you. And you say, what do I want from it? I want to experience my real self. So you do these things, the experience happens as a revelation. It's no long drawn out thing that we're saying, okay, like, dang, I'm so ignorant of all these things I'm learning all for the first time. I've got a long life to go, a long way ahead of me for this enlightenment, for this promise of self-realization. And the thing is that you do a little bit right now, happens. Because it is who you are. So a little bit of that revealing or that effort or that practice gives you the experience of yourself. When? Later? After death? No, right now. Okay, so Lila, play. Utilizing this body-mind according to the ways that it is supposed to be utilized. How is that? Clean the body. In the West, we're used to having cleanliness. Where? Outside. Must clean the streets, must keep the gutters clean, must keep the oceans clean. Definitely keep the all the nature and all the rainforests clean. Keep even the skin clean. Nice scrubbers, and keep the hair perfectly clean. We're very, very sure about how to keep everything outside of us clean. But how yoga has then, for thousands of years, been telling us how to keep the inside clean as well. And it's still being practiced. And this knowledge is still here to this day, practiced and contained in its entirety. Nothing is left out. So, many practices of how to clean the body. Hatha yoga keeps the lubrication of your synovial fluid, for example. Synovial fluid is a recycled fluid in the body. So you have to keep that synovial fluid not only one, clean, but two, circulating. Otherwise problems arise. This kind of thing. How do you keep the mind clean? Like anger, right? One major one that comes up over and over again is anger. We get angry at the littlest thing. We may be happy, and then all of a sudden someone says something about us at work is bad, and then we get angry again. Our whole day is ruined, whole week is ruined. So this anger pollutes the mind. It's like if your mind is already very rigid and very tamasic, then it's like drawing this line in a stone. And then if the mind is a little bit more open and adaptable and adjustable, a little less dark, and then it's like writing a line in clay. It can be molded, take some time. And then if you have a clean mind, sattvic mind, it's like writing the line in water. It goes away right away. That's anger. how anger shows up in different levels according to different practitioners. So keeping the mind clean in this kind of. So that's Lila. Play. Does it become work? Does it become a job? Does it become, no. It becomes play. Spontaneous, it becomes natural, it becomes enjoyable. Yes. And relax, it becomes relaxed. Play, there's no big fuss when you're playing. You're not figuring out how you're going to enjoy. When you're playing, you're enjoying by virtue or by way of playing. So, if you know and you understand and you see and you realize this body-mind as a temple, then all of your life becomes worship or play. So the last letter of the acronym is E, Eka. Eka means one. And we're all coming back to that one truth, the one essence of who we are. And by putting this body-mind into harmony, by yoking, yoging, by practicing yoga, all of our capacities and facilities and capabilities, we understand them, we know them, we can utilize them, but they start to grow and blossom in spontaneous ways, in playful ways, which we never would have expected from if we're calculating. Say when the tree was a little sprout, and the little sprout stopped what they were doing, growing, and said, how am I going to grow? With what sunlight if I'm going to grow? With what water? When is the water going to come when I'm going to grow? When I grow up, how many flowers would I have? Who gets to smell the fragrance from my flower? Will fruits bear from my flowers? We stop what we're doing to ask all these questions when we really should be growing. By doing this, Evam, right? Titiksha, Evam, Manana, Panchakosha, Lila, Eka. By understanding and by knowing and by adopting, by practicing this in daily life, in day-to-day life, knowledge of oneself is revealed. Oneness is the only reality. And so how? You say, okay, where do I start? Okay, now I want to play, right? I want to play this. I want to have this temple. I want this whole world to be my temple. I just don't want to feel like this is my temple and everything else is a dump. No, I'd like to feel like I live in a temple. Here in the body and outside the body. How? Well, there's 4 ways to go about it. And there's 4 aspects of the human personality. So wherever you feel more inclined to move in, go in that path, because all the rest of them start to come in at the same time. So the 4 ways, one way is through your emotions. When you feel love for God, you feel love for yoga, you feel love for the self, you feel love for attaining enlightenment, you feel love for this infinite that is beyond, that creator that we all were created from, the sustainer that sustains us all, and the destroyer, the transformer that is controlling and destroying and transforming all of this in front of us right now. That source, that power, that infinite, you utilize your emotions to connect with that source and that power. Because emotion is a power. Emotion is emotion, energy in motion. So you turn that energy away from little things, kindergarten style things, to big, profound, advanced level things like God realization, self-realization. Remember the love that we get from the cookie or the dog or the child or whatever? That same is the love, the transcendental love that transcends all of those. It's the same love, divine love, love of the Absolute. But we misidentify it in those little objects and relationships and experiences. So you utilize the love and the emotion, number one. Number two, I'll go with your will, your mind. So you say, okay, I'm not so really into like that whole love and, like that sounds nice to love God and everything and whatnot, but I'm more scientific. So I want to get it with my mind. I want to, purify the mind so that this very nature is revealed, because the mind is the basis of our experience, basis of our reality. So where is it going to happen? It's going to happen in the mind. So you go down this mental purification route, this control of mind. What's happening with our minds? Remember, we think of so many things, calculate so many things before, right? Mm-hmm. And then we think we're going to listen to this expert because they told us to do this, and then we listen to this other expert because they told us to do this, and we got so much mental power being leaked out. We're not even aware of how powerful our minds are, because at all times of the day, power is being spread in all different directions. There's no actual grasp of your mental power until you concentrate it. Meditation. When the mind power begins to focus into one point, then it becomes penetrative. Then it can reveal things that you weren't able to reveal before. Power of meditation. Practice of meditation. First one, Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of emotion, turning emotion into devotion. Second one, Raja Yoga, turning your physical and mental energy into spiritual energy. Yoga of mind and meditation. It strengthens the willpower. Third one, Jnana Yoga, the yoga of realization, the yoga of wisdom, the yoga of knowledge. I want to experience the God. I want to experience myself. I want to experience this absolute Brahman, Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. Sign me up right now. This is Jnana Yoga then for you. If you want it right now, then it happens in a snap. Revelation. Are you separate? We did it all within the third time. The Drigdrishya Viveka, the discrimination between what is seen and what is the seer. I am the seer, the cell phone is the seen. The eyes see the cell phone. Eyes are the seer, cell phone is the seen. One step beyond, who sees the eyes? The mind is aware of the eyes. The mind is conscious of the eyes. Eyes became the seen, mind became the seer. Who's aware of the mind? Consciousness. Pure absolute consciousness is aware of the mind. If you get it, getting it and grounding that understanding, grounding that realization is the practice of Jnana Yoga, the yoga of knowledge, the yoga of wisdom. And the final is Karma Yoga, the yoga of action. We have to act in this world. We are not able to live in these bodies and not act. So anybody who has ever taken a body must act. So how do I do all this in my actions, this yoga, this Jnana Yoga, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga? When I'm acting, when I'm performing my duties in the world, the teaching is here. How do I get enlightenment? How do I realize one reality, the real I, through actions? The way we do that is by purifying the action. How do you purify the action? You remove the selfish intention for doing the action. You remove the self selfish purpose for the action. Okay. So then, does that mean that because I have a job, and because I make money from my job, and because I take a salary, does that mean I fail the Karma Yoga test? And that does not mean that you fail the Karma Yoga test. What is the purpose? If you want to look and see truly this Karma Yoga and how it applies in all of our lives, no matter what you're doing in your life, we all are acting in some way or another. If there's a reward from this action, are you doing this action for the reward? Or are you doing the action for the sake of doing the action? The first creates bondage and suffering. The second creates liberation and freedom. Yes! That's right! That's right! Shakti!
Period.
That's right. Period. End of satsang. So, one creates the very thing that we want to avoid, and one type of action creates the very thing that we want. But what is it that day to day and hour after hour that we're doing? Are we doing the action that we need to be doing for what we want? Or are we doing the actions that give us what we don't want? And this is all of yoga. Is how do you actually attain this realization and live in society? It's easy for someone to go to the caves in the Himalayas and forests and meditate for hours upon hours and fast and have no distractions, right? Self-realization, if you practiced accordingly, Evam, if you did what the scriptures told you to do, then realization would come very quickly. And it's only because we keep doing selfish action with selfish purpose, for desire for the fruits of the action, that we then have to come back to get the fruit of the action, come back to reap the rewards of the action. And here said, what's wrong with that? Well, because not always are the fruits the ones that we wanted. Not always do we get what we thought we were going to get. So along with doing action selfishly comes all kinds of errors, all kinds of fruits and results that we did not intend, did not want. And so how do you get freedom when everything you're doing is creating karma? What freedom from what? Freedom from karma. How do I get free of that bondage, the chain that is the fruit of the action? Well, there's only a chain, there's only bondage, there's only stickiness because of the selfishness involved. Because the I is the ego that's wanting the fruit of the action. The I that's doing the action is the I that's body-mind-ego complex that says, I am a body, I am a mind, I am from this place in the world, I have this profession, I am live in this house, I drive this car, this and that, and this person is the one that's been doing the actions our whole lives. Isn't it? It's not been the real I. It's been this temporary I, this ever-changing I, this illusion of an I. That's just as illusory as a dream. Is it not? This experience of waking comes and goes, just like the dream world comes and goes. And then you go into deep sleep. And then even the dream world fades away, goes away, dissolves. And then you wake up. Who was that? Who was there for the waking, for the dreaming, and for the deep sleep? The real I. the I that transcends this personality, this body-mind complex, the I that transcends even the dreamer's personality and even the dreaming world, and the I that transcends the blankness, the absence of the world, the absence of contents in the mind. That's the real I. But we do our actions from this waker, from this one of the states of consciousness, one of the states of the mind, from the waker. And this waker misidentifies who they are. The waker doesn't know the real I. So then the waker operates from what the waker knows as the I, this body-mind. And in order to make this body-mind more comfortable, which it's going to go back to dust, but we want to make it so comfortable that we do all of our actions for this body-mind to be comfortable. If we're doing the action for selfish purpose, selfish desire, then we get fruit from it, bonded to it. We have to come back to get the fruits, the chain. But if you do the action without selfish intention, without selfish purpose, then you are free of the fruits that come. You are not attached to the fruits of the action. That is the whole essence of how you do this yoga in day-to-day life. As you still perform, no one ever told you not to act, right? You still perform the action. All the actions that you're supposed to perform according to your duties and your responsibilities and your practical realities. You still do all those. But what is the motive behind it? What is the purpose behind it? If the purpose is the salary, is the money, then it's selfish action. But if the purpose is doing the action for the sake of doing the action, doing the job for the sake of doing the job, doing the practice for the sake of doing the practice, then there is no ego there waiting for its rewards. You've taken your ego out of it. The goal of human life is to realize, who am I? To realize oneself. And if your action and all the things that you're doing give you knowledge of this self, having the roof, having the food, having the clothes, you need to perform these practical realities, practical duties in the world. So you're here, and you know you're going to be here. But how do I get the spiritual freedom that I want while living my life, while having the job, while having the family? And the answer is selfish to selfless. The ish is this little self, the ego self, the little personality, temporary personality. And selfless means to take that I-ness, that me-ness, that mindness away from that. And you're still doing the action. You're still there performing the action with all the attention, with all the love, with all the focus. And you're free of that action. You're free of the results. You're free of the fruits. You're free of the bondage. You're free of the karma. And that's karma yoga. You take karma and you make it into karma yoga. But even the karmas that we do that are, quote, good actions, what is the sake of doing those actions? Is it for some reward or for some recognition? Or is it because it is the right thing to do? And in the yoga and the Gita and all of scriptures, they say that whatever has come to you, whatever the action is that you must do today, right now, that action is the very action that's going to set you free. You say, what's I have to do now? My laundry. That doing the laundry will set you free. If you know how to do the action. You don't have to be a big, famous, well-known whatever. You don't have to be in the highest levels of government and social class. No. Any action that has fallen to your lot is that action that's going to set you free when it is performed selflessly. And with this, we'll conclude. Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivardhanam purvarukamiva bandhanan mrityurmokshiyamamritat. Om sarve bhavantu sukhina sarve shantu niramaya sarve bhavantu sukhina sarve shantu niramaya sarve bhadrani pashantu ma kaschit dukhabhag bhavet asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityur ma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat Om Shri Gurave Namah.